This is Pau. Very, very beautiful city in the southern part of France, located on the Spanish border at the foot of the Pyrenees. As a matter of fact, the department or county in which this city of Pau is located is called Basque Pyrenees. It's a town of approximately 50,000 people that this particular weekend was crowded. Chestnut sellers, and how typically French can you get? Hot chestnuts in the springtime. Photo displays in the camera shop full of racing cars. What was happening? France's first 55 Grand Prix, the Grand Prix of Pau. Now, why was this a special event? This was the first show outside of Italy of the Lancias. Lancia sensational new V8 racing car, and the Maserati, Italy's other pride and joy. Of course, the French team of Gordini was there, the first ones to arrive. Red and blue, Italian and French racing colors, the order of the day in the pits. The Lancias arrived, strange looking, with their saddle tanks, and one of the greatest of them all, the late Alberto Ascari, who had just won his first event in a Lancia. Maserati. The drivers in France or in Europe in general look pretty much like drivers anywhere else, standing around the pits talking about racing and eating. Villaresti, one of Italy's old masters, feeling out his Lancia. Castellotti, one of Italy's young masters, consulting with the old one. The Gordini team warms up. Elie Bayol, top driver for Gordini. Louis Rosier in the middle, Robert Benzon on the right. Jean Behra, France's top driver in the suede jacket. Marquis de Portigo, one of the few Spanish drivers in competition. Bonnet, Armagnac, masters of the DB team. Jean Behra, Maserati driver, inspects the Maserati team. Mechanics working hard. This is race day. Practice is over. Plugs being changed. Wiring checked. Maserati's racing manager doesn't let a single detail escape his observation. Not even a piece of foam rubber to make a driver more comfortable. Car number 28, the Anzani, built several years ago, resurrected for this race, one of a kind. Built in Italy, later was to crash and fatally injure its driver. The prototype Deutsche Banese, the DB, 750 cubic centimeter, 45 cubic inch supercharged. The first appearance of a 750cc supercharged car in Formula One. Beautifully prepared, but they just didn't have it, as the expression was. Tire pressures checked. Something unusual about this gauge? Yes, although they're in Europe, this is in pounds per square inch. The Gordini team warms up. Lancia makes a few last-minute adjustments. 4 two-throat Weber carburetors. V8s, these Lancias. Very sensational car. Suspension is checked. And as usual, the drivers have their session. Ascari and Villaresi discussing, well, who knows what they're discussing. The forthcoming race, maybe events of the night before. Well, whatever it is, they enjoyed it. John Lucas, this is, in the dark glasses, one of France's better sports car drivers. Polishing his goggles, another gentleman polishing his face shield. Ascari gets into his Lancia for the warm-up laps. Everything has to fit just right. The windshield is polished. He's serious. And serious as he is, he takes the first car out on the course. Alberghetti in the Anzani. Musso, popular young Italian driver in Maserati. Louis Rosier, privately owned Maserati, and Charles Faroux, the granddaddy of all French racing, The gendarmes clear the circuit, and the race is just about to begin. 16th Grand Prix of Pau is underway. Ascari on the inside, Jean Behra in the Maserati on the outside, jumps into an immediate lead in the first turn, followed by the balance of the Maserati and the Lancia team. Behind those are the Gordinis and the independent Maseratis. Jean Behra in the lead on the Virage de la Gare, the station house turn, Ascari on the outside. Ascari makes a violent bid on the outside, but the heavier Lancia just doesn't have it coming out of the turn. The lighter Maserati pulls away. Gordinis and Maseratis running through. Behra still leading. Very nice little tuck on the outside of that turn as they pull the tail back in. Gordinis. Maki de Portigo goes very, very wide. Maserati's team manager signals 1 minute 40 seconds for the lap. 1 minute and 37 seconds. The tempo picks up as Ascari puts the pressure on the tail of Jean Behra's Maserati. Behra, Ascari, Castellotti. Jean Behra has two of the hot Lancias right behind him. One of the French paratroopers trained in that area observing the race. Ascari on the back of the course has moved into the lead. Has passed Jean Behra, but not by very far. Ascari stretches out his little bit. Ascari still leading Jean Behra right behind him. DB spins out. Station house turn, Virage de la Gare again. Correct. Like on icy light cars, watch the driver's technique through this turn. The slight corrections as they accelerate. Spectators record the laps of their favorite drivers. Alberghetti in the Anzani was to meet his death a few minutes later on this same turn in car number 28. Castellotti. Castellotti drives very hard coming out of this turn. Paulet, French sports car driver. Mieres, car number 16, Maserati. Ascari stretches out his lead, going on the uphill straightaway to the Virage de l'Isée. Jean Behra still behind him, underneath the overpass. Down through the S's. Behra still behind him. Very twisting, tortuous course through here. Don't hit a curb, that breaks wheels. Down to the Parc de Beaumont. Past the beautiful spring flowers, so prevalent in France at this time of the year. The placid swan, a beautiful setting for Grand Prix racing. You can only find this in Europe. DB moves over, lets us carry by. Virage de Buisson, downhill again. Jean Behra closes up down to the tight S's following the Virage de Buisson, pardon me. Very tight competition down through these. DB, all wheels. Clockers and timers watch every car go by. They call them like we do here. Castellotti again, still having little complications with this turn. Up towards the top of the Virage de l'Isée, underneath the overpass. Still a scary lead. Musso, slightly outclassed, but up and coming in the Grand Prix scene. Ascari down through the twisting level S's. Villaresi in the Lancia, back in 4th or 5th spot. Gordini moves over to let the Lancia by. Very popular custom in Europe. Slow cars move over with no provocation whatsoever. And in Europe or in America, at every race there's a dog. DB. Strange-looking shark-like creatures. Down past the start-finish line, George Frichard, the top French sports car and Grand Prix racing announcer. Ascari, Behra, Castellotti, Mieres, and Villaresi, in that order. What's the matter, Mr. Frischard? An announcement? Yes, Ascari is in the pits and the crowd goes practically crazy as Jean Behra, the French champion, pulls around past Ascari. This puts Behra in first spot, uphill after passing the start-finish line. And down through the tight S's, down past the Parc de Beaumont, and downhill again to the Barrage de Buisson, and down past the start-finish line. Ascari has been lapped. He is now one lap behind. The brakes are fixed. He's back out on the course. People who know say that seldom have they ever seen a better exhibition of driving than Alberto Ascari drove this particular day at Pau. He pulled every trick he knew out of his big, thick book. He was one lap behind. He wasn't sure about Castellotti, who didn't have a lot of experience. The pits were sweating on both teams, both the Maserati and the Lancia team. Castellotti makes a bid to move up. He was sitting in second spot when Ascari dropped out. This gave him the only Lancia within striking distance of Jean Behra. Two more laps to go. No one can be a greater success than a French driver winning a race in France. Jean Behra, the winner, congratulated by the charming young lady, congratulated by his mechanics, and in turn congratulating his mechanics. In the ever sportsmanlike gesture, Alberto Ascari congratulates the winner, Jean Behra.